What were the new laws of 1542? Have you ever wondered how laws can shape the lives of entire communities? The new laws of 1542 are a fascinating example of this in the context of Latin American history. These laws were issued by the Spanish crown with the aim of protecting indigenous peoples from exploitation and abuse. They specifically targeted the encomienda system, which allowed Spanish settlers to demand labor and tribute from native communities. This system often led to severe mistreatment and forced labor. One of the key features of the new laws was the prohibition of indigenous enslavement. The laws made it clear that indigenous peoples could not be enslaved under any circumstances, whether due to war, rebellion, or punishment. If someone was already enslaved, they had to be freed unless their owners could prove that their enslavement was legal in Spain. This was a challenging task for many. Another important aspect was the end of new encomiendas. The laws stopped the granting of new encomiendas, which were essentially land and labor grants to Spanish settlers. This was a significant step to prevent the expansion of an exploitative system that had already caused much suffering. The new laws also limited the inheritance of encomiendas. When an encomendero, or holder of an encomienda, died, their lands and the indigenous people under their control would revert to the crown. This aimed to reduce the power of the encomenderos, who had become a powerful class in colonial society. Additionally, the laws sought to protect indigenous labor rights. They aimed to end forced labor practices without fair payment and prohibited relocating indigenous people to distant regions for exploitative work, such as pearl fishing. Only the viceroy had the authority to establish encomiendas, which meant that religious orders and civil servants could not grant them. This was a way to centralize control over indigenous affairs. These reforms were influenced by humanitarian concerns, particularly by figures like Bartolomé de Las Casas, who advocated for the rights of indigenous peoples. The new laws represented an early attempt by the Spanish crown to regulate colonial abuses and assert royal control over the colonies. However, the implementation of these laws faced strong opposition from encomenderos, leading to unrest in places like Peru. Over time, some provisions were weakened, allowing for limited inheritance of encomiendas. Despite these challenges, the new laws marked a significant moment in the gradual decline of the encomienda system and the recognition of indigenous rights. From a cultural perspective, these laws reflected the complex interactions between colonial power and indigenous communities. While the laws aimed to protect native peoples, their partial enforcement shows the ongoing struggle for indigenous dignity and autonomy. The new laws are an important reference point in the long history of indigenous rights movements in Latin America.